Hey my little truffle, how y'all doing on this side of the internet? Welcome back to the corner where the tea is scalding, the receipts are laminated, and the shade travels faster than a Roc Nation lawsuit. It's your girl Donna Lisa Moan doing another one for me. And baby, I need you glued to that couch because what dropped this week is not gossip, it is not a rumor, it is not a somebody's cousin heard something at the barber shop. What dropped this week is a full-blown roadmap, a blueprint, a confession disguised as a deposition. And when you see how the pieces line up, you are going to understand why half the internet has been screaming into the void for 2 years while the other half was busy defending men in expensive suits. Now before I even blink in the direction of the drama, let me put my little disclaimer down on the table like a napkin under a hot mug. Every single thing I am about to say is alleged, is reported, is claimed by people who were inside the room where the receipts were flapping. I am a girl with a camera and a Wi-Fi signal. I am not a courtroom. But when the courtroom leaves the door cracked, baby love, I am walking through it. Because tonight, we are talking about the fact that regular people, everyday internet detectives, are finally connecting the dots on Jay-Z and Roc Nation. And I don't mean the surface-level dots you've been chewing on for a year. I mean the deep, ugly, structural dots. The kind of dots that turn a rap beef into a federal-shaped puzzle. We are also talking about Cardi B threatening to sue an into plus-size TikToker who dared to call out the Old Navy campaign. And honey, if you thought that story was just about jeans, buckle in, because Cardi B is on a mission to turn one comment section into a whole crime scene. And on top of all that, Bunna B has finally decided to stop turning the other cheek and drag Samara all the way from Instagram to Judgment Day. So lock your feet to the floor, because we are running through every ugly-ass sin corner of this. Let's start where the story actually starts, which is not last week, and it's not last month. It goes back over a year, to the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion trial. Now roll with me for a second, because this is the part where the internet finally caught the man behind the curtain. There is a blogger, a commentator, a certified culture historian named Akademiks. And Akademiks has been very publicly and very consistently on record that he did not believe Megan Thee Stallion's version of what happened that night. He thought she was lying. He sided with Tory from day one, and he never wavered. A smaller blogger, a woman named Milagro Grams, took a similar position, and Megan Thee Stallion sued her for it. And that is where the trapdoor opened. Because when Akademiks got dragged into the Milagro Grams case as a subpoenaed witness, something very, very strange happened in that deposition room. Akademiks sat down across from Megan Thee Stallion's legal team, he answered their questions, and he had the presence of mind to hit record. And what came out on that recording is why the internet has not slept for a week. Akademiks was there to give testimony about a defamation case involving Megan, Milagro, and Tory. He had no business being asked about Drake. Drake was not a party. Drake was not a witness. Drake was not even a footnote. And yet Drake's name kept flying out of the lawyers' mouths like it was the whole reason they set the meeting. They asked Akademiks whether he was ever paid to promote Drake. They asked him if he was blindly loyal to Drake. They asked him whether he had ever leaked exclusive information from anyone inside Drake's camp. They asked him what kind of information he had leaked. They circled and circled and circled. And every question was polished. Every question was engineered. Every question sounded less like defamation prep and more like discovery for a case that had not been filed yet. Now catch this, because they didn't just ask about Drake. They asked about Stake, the gambling platform. They asked whether Akademiks had a joint account with anybody through which he was compensated for his work. They asked how he got connected with the individuals at Stake for his sponsorship. They asked whether Drake had ever sent him cryptocurrency or digital assets for any reason at all. And then they asked about a man named George, the same George who runs the Grand Wizard chat account. The same George whose name has been ping-ponging around the Drake ecosystem for months. They asked whether the person behind Grand Wizard had ever been associated with an account called OO Grand, with a $sign, because OVO, of course, is Drake's label, right? They asked whether Drake had ever communicated with him. They asked. And you could sit there and tell yourself, well, maybe that is just Megan Thee Stallion's private legal team running down a rabbit hole. Maybe Roc Nation has nothing to do with it. On paper, that argument holds up for about 11 seconds. Because the legal team, in the middle of this deposition, accidentally shared their own internal screen. And sitting on that screen, big and bold and impossible to unsee, was one name, Desiree Perez, the CEO of Roc Nation, the right hand of Jay-Z himself. Let that sink in like a stain. Roc Nation's legal apparatus deposed a music blogger in a defamation suit about a smaller music blogger and spent hours asking about Stake, Drake, and George. The exact 3 names that would soon sit at the dead center of 2 enormous gambling lawsuits that had not even been filed yet. They were sketching the map before the ink was dry. They were running the play before the whistle blew. And they got caught with the playbook open on the wrong screen. This is not a beef anymore. This is not a rap feud. This is a corporation using its legal team as a private intelligence agency to build a case against an artist who dared to make their queen look mortal. And when the internet says obsession, the internet is not exaggerating. Because this level of coordination, this level of surveillance, this level of resource allocation, you don't spend this kind of money and this kind of manpower on a man you dislike. You spend it on a man who is living rent-free in your entire boardroom. You spend it on a man whose shadow keeps showing up on your bottom line. You spend it on a man who has beaten you at your own game so publicly that the only move left is to try to bury him under paperwork. Baby, this is not hate. This is haunted. This is that cannot sleep at night because he's still out there energy. This is that wake up and check his Instagram before you check your children energy. Because a man who hates Drake would simply stop playing Drake. A man who is obsessed with Drake builds a legal team, runs a deposition, drafts a lawsuit, calls Kendrick, calls Metro, calls the Super Bowl, and still cannot get the taste of Drake out of his mouth. That's not enemy. That's X. That is the kind of thing you write country songs about. And here's the beautiful part, the part that makes me sit up straight in my chair. None of it is working. Drake is still standing. Drake is still selling. Drake is still trending. Drake is still headlining. Drake is still on the covers, still on the tours, still on the charts. Every single knife they've thrown, he's caught by the blade and thrown right back with a smile. Kendrick got used and set on the shelf. The Super Bowl performance came and went, and the culture kept turning. And the man they tried to shove into a coffin is still up there 10 toes down, laughing all the way to the bank. That's not luck. That's the algorithm of divine timing. Now, while all of that is bubbling in the pot, let's slide over to the other stove, because Bunna B has officially had it up to her forehead with a little 19-year-old named Samara. Wait, wrong Samara. Let me be clear, because we are about to have two Samaras rotating through this show like understudies in a bad play. The one we are talking about right now is a young female rapper who thought it was cute to fire a shot at Bunna B in her latest snippet, and Bunna B has decided, publicly and enthusiastically, to end that little experiment. Now the girls online are already trying to pull the sympathy card. Oh, she's only 19. Oh, she's just a baby. Oh, Bunna B should let it slide. Baby love, no. When you get on a microphone and diss a woman who literally gave you a remix on your own song, you have walked yourself into the smoke, and you have poured lighter fluid on your own head. This little girl said, and I am not embellishing. Even if you was the queen, you couldn't discredit me. That was aimed at Nicki Minaj. And then she pivoted and joked about Bunna B being blackballed. Unprovoked. Out of nowhere. From a girl whose entire buzz depended on Bunna B extending her a hand. Bunna B has now teased a full response. She is telling this child, on the record, to be careful what she raps about. She called her a little chick with a word that rhymes with witch. And she is daring her, to say something else. The Whisper Network is saying the full track is loaded and ready. And I need Bunna B to hit that button expeditiously, because the culture is thirsty for a real female rap moment that isn't rehearsed in a green room. This is not a manufactured beef. This is not a label-planted argument. This is a woman with real bars who was tested by a smaller woman who thought youth was a shield. Bunna B is about to remind her that youth is fuel, not armor. I am supporting Bunna B 1000% on this one, and I want it to be nasty. I want it to be surgical. I want it to be the kind of response that ends careers before they start. Because for too long the girls in rap have been playing patty cake for the cameras, and the audience has been begging for a real one to step in the paint. Bunna B, drop the song. The people are starving. Alright, now let's swing over to the third pot, because this one has been simmering for a whole year, and it is finally boiling over. The Marty Gang, Cardi B's fan base, has been dragging a plus-size commentator named Samara. Yes, that's Samara. The one who came out swinging over Cardi B's Old Navy denim campaign. And Samara pulled up online, mad as a hornet, calling Cardi B out for allegedly being the first person to publicly drag fat people during that whole WWE SummerSlam moment last year. Now everybody knows the story. Cardi B posted a promotional moment about her WWE-themed merch line, and instead of just celebrating the sold-out sizes, she made a whole comedy set about how the 3X sold out in 20 minutes because, in her own words, her fans are fat. She said it with a laugh. She said it with her whole chest. And she said something in the neighborhood of, I can't even make fun of fat people anymore. That was a whole year ago. And the internet has never fully let it go. The receipts are still floating on X like driftwood. So when Old Navy, an apparel company whose entire brand is inclusive sizing, announced a splashy new campaign with Cardi B, Samara came out of the gate hot. She posted a video staring dead into the camera saying, Old Navy, that better not be who I think it is. She was calling Cardi B out for fat phobia by proxy, saying you cannot partner with a woman who publicly mocks the exact bodies you claim to celebrate. And then, faster than the video could even go viral, Samara deleted it. Just wiped it clean. But of course, Cardi B doesn't miss anything. Cardi B has surveillance software on the entire internet. Cardi B hopped on X and let it fly. Her exact words were something in the range of, "I don't mess with nobody for real, but trying to take money out of my pocket is like taking chicken nuggets out of my kid's mouth. And trust, I become a whole demon about my coins." And she is not lying about the demon. Cardi B in Defense of a Bag is a horror film with 3 sequels. Now here is where the audience is splitting down the middle. On one side, you have people who genuinely believe Samara is doing important work. She's speaking up for plus-size women in a fashion industry that has spent decades ignoring them. She's calling out fat phobia in real time. She's holding celebrities accountable for cruel jokes that get laughed off because the celebrity is small and famous and shiny. And to those people, Samara is a hero. On the other side, you have people who feel that Samara has completely lost the thread. That every time Cardi B breathes, Samara pulls up like a hall monitor. That the criticism is starting to feel less like activism and more like personal obsession. That she has picked with brands, with parking meters, with the Cheesecake Factory's skinny menu, with anyone who is not curating a plus-size utopia. And somewhere along the way the mission blurred and the vendetta got clearer. I'm going to tell you where I stand, because I try to be honest with y'all. I see both sides. I truly do. And that is what makes this whole thing so uncomfortable. Because Cardi B has said things, cruel things, careless things, things she has never fully owned. And the culture keeps handing her a fresh slate every 6 months because we love her voice and we love her chaos and we love her wins. But loving somebody does not mean protecting them from accountability. That's not love. That's fan fiction. At the same time, Samara is not making it easy to root for her. She is showing up angry. She is showing up early. She is showing up loud. And she is not always showing up correct. She swung at Cardi B over the Old Navy deal without acknowledging that Cardi B has never been shy about her body, her curves, her stretch marks, and that other Cardi B partnerships have been genuinely inclusive. It felt less like a takedown and more like a targeted campaign. And when the video started catching heat, Samara deleted it. That is not the move of somebody with a rock-solid conviction. That is the move of somebody who tested the water and realized it was hotter than she expected. And then, on top of all that, Samara dropped a whole diss track. A whole song. Music video, full production, the works. Now let me ask you a question, because I am not a music mogul. I am just a girl with a microphone. How in the world does a woman find out about a partnership, write a song about it, record a song about it, shoot a music video for it, edit a music video for it, and drop it in the span of a single news cycle? She doesn't. That song was sitting in the chamber. That song has been sitting in the drawer waiting for a moment. And Old Navy announcing Cardi B was the excuse Samara was waiting for to pull it out. The internet, for the most part, was not impressed. The reception was cold. The comments were brutal. Even people who agree with Samara on the broader point about fat phobia and fashion looked at that release and said, "Sis, this is not it." Because there is a difference between activism and antagonism, and lately Samara has been sliding into the second column. She is not raising awareness anymore. She is raising eyebrows. And here is the thing that a lot of commentators are pointing out. Where was Samara when Deja got run off the entire internet over her little snack plate video? Because that was a moment. That was a real moment. A black woman was mocked, mass piled on, and driven off her own comment section, and Samara was noticeably silent. But the second Cardi B does anything at all, Samara is at the microphone, ready to swing. And that inconsistency is what is starting to erode her credibility. People inside the building are telling me that a lot of brands are now hesitant to work with Samara, not because she's plus size, not because she's outspoken, but because she has demonstrated, publicly and repeatedly, that she will turn on any brand she deems insufficiently pure, and no marketing team wants to be the next target of a diss track. Her activism has hardened into a weapon that could theoretically be pointed at anyone she wakes up mad at, and that is a business risk. Meanwhile, Cardi B is doing what Cardi B always does, turning the outrage into fuel. She has already flooded her socials with the Old Navy campaign. She has already booked the follow-up interviews. She has already sold the units. The Cardi B machine does not lose. It absorbs. It converts controversy into currency. And Samara, who came in hot, is now sitting with a cold reception and a shrinking audience. But, and this is the part that I really need y'all to hear, none of that means Cardi B is off the hook. Because let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cardi B has, over years, said things about the black community that would have canceled almost any other celebrity 10 times over. She has said things about darker-skinned women. She has said things that get quietly erased when the next hit drops. And there is a very specific kind of favoritism that Cardi B receives that a lot of other celebrities do not. She gets to say the thing, laugh the laugh, apologize halfway, and keep the check. And that pattern is real. That pattern is documented. And Samara, for all her clumsiness, is at least pointing at something that exists. So the question I want you to sit with is, can we, as a culture, hold two truths at the same time? Can we say Samara is out of pocket and Cardi B has been let off the hook? Can we say the diss track was cringe and the fat phobia was cruel? Can we live in the both and instead of the either or? Because if we cannot, we are going to keep repeating this exact fight every 8 months until the year 2040. Now let's zoom out, because when you stack all three of these stories on the same table, you start to see the pattern. Jay-Z and Roc Nation using legal machinery to build a case against Drake. Cardi B using X and the threat of lawsuits to silence a plus-size critic. Bunna B being pushed into a corner by a 19-year-old rapper who confused a cosign for a shield. What do all three of these situations have in common? Power. Not the kind of power you inherit. The kind of power you weaponize. And in every single one of these stories, the culture is being asked to pick a side without being given the full story. And I want to tell you something, baby love, the full story is never one video. The full story is never one tweet. The full story is never one deposition transcript. The full story is a decade of receipts, 1,000 comment sections, and a handful of people brave enough to say the thing out loud. That is why the Akademiks recording matters. Not because it settles the Drake beef, but because it cracks open a door that a lot of powerful people spend a lot of money trying to keep closed. And once the door is open, the wind gets in. And once the wind gets in, the whole house starts to shake. I need you to think about that image the next time somebody tells you that a rap beef is just a rap beef. Because rap beef, in 2026, is a delivery mechanism. It is packaging. It is a Trojan horse. Behind the surface fight is a corporation moving pieces. Behind the diss track is a legal team taking notes. Behind the smiling label CEO is a whole apparatus that treats artists like inventory. And when one of the inventory items refuses to be moved, they escalate. First they ignore you. Then they mock you. Then they sue you. Then they subpoena people who happen to know you. Then they build cases while you're on tour. Then they hope the paperwork does what the diss tracks could not. And still, Drake is standing. Bunna B is still recording. And Cardi B is still selling denim. The machine only wins if you let it drive the narrative. The moment the audience, that's you, that's me, that's every person watching this right now. The moment we start connecting the dots ourselves, the moment we start comparing the timelines, the moment we refuse to accept just a beef as a full explanation, that is when the whole thing starts to fall apart. Now let me tell you what I am watching for over the next 30 days. I am watching to see whether Bunna B actually drops that track. Because if she does, and if it lands the way I think it will, we are about to enter a new era of female rap, where the cosigns come with clauses, and the friendly remix has expiration dates. I am watching to see whether Cardi B actually files a lawsuit against Samara, because if she does, she is walking directly into the exact discovery process that would surface every fatphobic clip the internet has ever archived. And I am watching to see how Roc Nation responds to the Akademiks recording, because right now the smart move is silence, and Jay-Z has never been particularly good at silence. And in the middle of all that, I am watching Drake. Because Drake, more than anyone, has become the mirror the industry does not want to look into. Every time a label tries to bury him, he releases a project and the numbers do the talking. Every time an executive tries to sideline him, another cultural moment finds him first. Every time a lawyer files a motion, 3 more listeners find the music. He is the case study for what happens when you refuse to be moved. And whether you love his music or hate his voice, you cannot deny that the man is teaching a masterclass on how to survive a coordinated campaign. So here is what I want from you, my little truffle. I want you in the comments. I want you loud. I want you specific. Tell me, do you think Akademiks knew he was being used as a fishing trip by Roc Nation? Or did that recording save his career? Tell me, do you believe Bunna B is going to end Samara the rapper? Or is that little girl going to survive the response by playing the age card? Tell me, are you on Cardi B's side, on Samara the commentator's side? Or are you, like me, sitting in the messy middle where the truth actually lives? And while you're at it, because you know I love a good audience poll, tell me who you think is the most obsessed with Drake in this whole industry. Is it Jay-Z? Is it a whole executive committee at Roc Nation? Is it Kendrick Lamar? Is it the ghosts of the last 3 labels that tried to move him and couldn't? Drop that answer in the comments, because I read them, I really do, and next week's video is going to be built off what y'all put in that box. Before I close this whole thing out, I want to leave you with one more thought, because if you take nothing else away from tonight, take this. The people who have real power very rarely act like they have real power. They don't need to shout. They don't need to threaten. They don't need to file lawsuits at midnight or leak deposition tapes to save face. When somebody is that loud, that active, that legally aggressive, they are not showing you strength. They are showing you fear. Real power is quiet. Real power is calm. Real power watches the clock tick and does not blink. And the fact that Roc Nation, a corporation with global reach, is running around trying to build cases against a rapper, that alone tells you that the rapper won something they cannot admit he won. The volume is the confession. Cardi B threatening a plus-size TikToker with a lawsuit is not a flex. It is a signal. It says her camp is scared that if the fat phobia conversation keeps growing, Old Navy will reconsider. That is why she moved so fast. That is why she went straight to demon mode over a video that Samara had already deleted. Because the machine cannot risk one campaign. The machine cannot afford one bad quarter. And Samara, whether she knew it or not, poked at the exact place where the money bleeds. Bunna B being pushed to respond to a 19-year-old is not a distraction from her career. It is a test of whether the female rap ecosystem will finally start policing itself. Because if every young rapper thinks she can walk in the door, take a remix, and then diss the woman who opened the door, the whole culture becomes a revolving door of ingratitude. Bunna B is not just clapping back at Samara the rapper. She is drawing a line for every rapper who comes after her. And I respect the line. So take these 3 stories, stack them on top of each other, and read them like chapters of the same book. Chapter 1 is a corporation weaponizing law against an artist. Chapter 2 is a celebrity weaponizing lawsuits against a critic. Chapter 3 is an artist finally deciding to weaponize her own bars in self-defense. And the through line, the spine, the whole message of the book is this. Power is being restructured in real time, and the audience is being invited to pick which side of that restructure it wants to stand on. I know what side I'm on. I'm on the side of the receipts. I'm on the side of the timelines. I'm on the side of the small blogger who got sued, the plus-size commentator who got threatened, and the rapper who kept working through every campaign designed to bury him. I'm on the side of the audience that refuses to swallow one video as the full story. I'm on the side of the both and if any of that resonates with you, if any of that made you sit up straighter, if any of that made you say yes, Donna, say that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell so the algorithm can't hide me from you. Because I'm going to keep saying it. Louder, longer, weekly. And if the powers that be want to try to shut this channel down, well, they can join the line. There's already 100 lawyers, 6 executives, and 1 Sherry Shepherd hologram ahead of them. Talk to me in the comments, baby love. Tell me your theory on the Akademiks recording. Tell me who you're rooting for in the Bunna B versus Samara rap situation. Tell me if you think Cardi B is going to actually sue, or if she's going to let the news cycle scroll and pretend she never said the word demon. Tell me who you think is running Roc Nation's legal team right now, because I got theories and I need company. And tell me, because you know I always end on this one, tell me the biggest piece of tea you heard this week that the mainstream media refused to touch. Because next Friday, I am doing a whole episode on the stories the algorithm tried to smother. And the top comment gets the top slot. Until then, keep your ears open, keep your receipts saved, keep your notifications on, and keep your side eye sharpened. This is Donna Lee Simone, signing off from the corner where the tea is scalding and the truth is louder than the paperwork. Love y'all. Stay messy. Stay honest. Stay watching. See you on the next one.